The tension in the studio was palpable, like electricity crackling just before a storm. On one side of the stage, former President Barack Obama sat with the calm intensity of a man who had once held the highest office in the land. His eyes were fixed, deliberate, betraying a simmering frustration that had been building over years of political battles. Across from him, Donald Trump radiated a different kind of energy, the kind that fills a room with raw, unfiltered confidence. Between them, Vice President JD Vance remained composed, an island of quiet focus amidst the swirling storm of history unfolding around him. Before the cameras even started rolling, the audience could feel the weight of anticipation, the collective heartbeat of a nation poised on the edge of its seat. Millions of Americans watched from their homes, glued to screens, smartphones buzzing, the world narrowing down to this one room, this one moment. And then, without warning, it began. Obama leaned forward, the stage lights casting sharp shadows across his face. His voice, smooth but piercing, cut through the charged atmosphere. "You've managed to flip this country on its head in just 200 days, he said, his tone heavy with disdain. "Donald, you've dismantled everything we spent 8 years building. You're reckless, arrogant, and frankly unstable. America should regret ever welcoming you back into this office." The words landed like a shockwave. Gasps rippled through the audience. Some clutched their seats, others exchanged incredulous glances. Trump, as it sculpted from stone, said nothing. He adjusted his tie and waited, absorbing each accusation like a seasoned fighter, enduring blows without faltering. But the room wasn't going to remain unbalanced for long. JD Vance, previously silent, sat forward, his gaze locked on Obama. The air seemed to constrict as he spoke. Calm but firm. Before Vance began, take a moment to subscribe to our channel, Scandal Pulse, and hit the notification bell. We bring you every shocking, unfiltered moment in politics and beyond, breaking down the stories that others fear to touch. Don't miss out. Join the movement of viewers who demand the truth. Vance's voice broke the tense silence. "Miss Obama," he said, his tone deliberate, almost conversational, yet carrying a weight that commanded attention. "You said quite enough." The room went still, the murmurs of the audience fading to a stunned hush. "You call President Trump a disgrace, a madman. But let's talk about what disgrace really looks like. Let's talk about what happened after the 2016 election. You, Hillary Clinton and James Comey orchestrated a Russia collusion narrative to reverse the will of the people. That wasn't politics. That was betrayal." Obama's confidence flickered, just slightly, but enough to notice. He was no longer the unshakable figure who had dominated debate stages in the past. Vance continued, each word precise, measured, yet cutting deeper than any verbal assault Obama had expected. "You accuse others of arrogance. But while Joe Biden was sidelined, unwell, you were the one calling the shots behind the curtain. You enabled a crisis at our borders, letting millions of illegal migrants in, putting American lives at risk. And now you sit here pointing fingers because the people chose President Trump again." The audience erupted. Applause, cheers, and even a few standing ovations filled the studio. For the first time, the debate's narrative shifted. It wasn't about Trump being attacked. It was about a younger leader standing up for millions who had felt unheard for years. Vance leaned in, the intensity of his gaze unwavering. "Mr. Obama," he said, "you call this president arrogant. No, the truth is you simply can't accept that Americans rejected your vision twice. They wanted strength. They wanted security. They wanted America first. And that's exactly what they got." Even the moderators, usually poised to maintain balance, sat frozen, unsure how to intervene. Reporters furiously typed notes, headlines forming faster than anyone could imagine. The cameras captured every second, every micro-expression, every subtle shift of energy in the room. Trump, for his part, leaned back, a faint smile tracing his lips, letting his vice president command the spotlight. Obama attempted to reclaim control, his smile tight, his voice sharp. "Jay, you're just a mouthpiece. Standing up for him doesn't make you a hero. This man has shattered America's image abroad, torn apart alliances, and turned the presidency into a reality show, and you decided to be his apprentice. The words were meant to sting, but the reaction was not as Obama expected. Murmurs spread, the audience divided, some frowning, others nodding in agreement with Vance's earlier points. Vance didn't flinch. Calmly, deliberately, he countered, "Sir, I'm not his apprentice. I'm his vice president, chosen by the people, trusted by the people. And unlike your administration, ours doesn't take orders from lobbyists, billionaires, or foreign governments. We serve Americans." The audience responded instantly. Applause thundered through the studio. Some shouted, some wept, some simply sat in awe. The energy had shifted. JD Vance wasn't just defending Trump. He was defending the voices of millions who had been ignored, marginalized, or silenced. He was speaking for them, and for the first time, they were being heard. Obama, sensing the tide slipping, leaned forward again, desperation creeping into his tone. "You think you can rewrite history, JD? The truth is Trump has isolated us, insulted our allies, and turned his presidency into a global punchline. Facts don't lie. He will go down as the worst president in modern history." The attempt to regain dominance fell flat. The applause was sparse, muted. The crowd's energy now belonged to Vance. Vance's reply was measured, almost surgical in its precision. "Facts don't lie, and neither do the people's memories. Under your leadership, jobs vanished, factories closed, borders were ignored, drugs and violence poured into communities, and yet you claimed to have saved America." The response was explosive. Cheers, tears, and cries of agreement filled every corner of the studio. Flags waved, hands clapped, and some audience members shouted. Finally, someone speaks the truth. For hours, or at least it felt like hours, the exchange unfolded. Obama attempted comeback after comeback, each more forced than the last. Trump remained silent, his eyes focused on Vance, nodding ever so slightly in approval. The contrast could not have been starker. A seasoned former president battling for control against a composed, articulate vice president who carried the weight of the American people's voice in his every word. Vance continued, dissecting the narrative that had long dominated political discourse. "You accuse President Trump of arrogance," he said, voice unwavering. "But real arrogance is hiding behind false narratives, whispering lies about Russia to discredit a legitimate victory. Pretending Biden was fit to lead when he wasn't, just to keep control. Believing you could fool Americans forever. That's arrogance." The applause was deafening. Tears streamed down faces. Some stood, overcome with emotion. The world outside the studio erupted in tandem. Phones recorded every moment. Clips went viral within seconds. Hashtags trended across every platform. In homes across Ohio, Texas, Florida, and Michigan, Americans whispered to one another, "Finally, someone speaks for us." Vance had transformed the debate from mere political theater into a historic reckoning. Obama's attempt to retake the stage grew increasingly strained. Each word sounded sharper, but no longer carried the authority it once had. Vance met every challenge with poise. "Mr. Obama," he said, "you weren't defending democracy. You were protecting your legacy. You got rich while families across this country lost everything. And that's why this moment bothers you. The truth has finally caught up to you." The crowd erupted once more, clapping, shouting, waving flags. The moderators attempted once again to restore order, but it was futile. History was unfolding and no one, not even a former president, could stop it. JD Vance had seized the narrative. He had commanded the stage. He had spoken not just to Obama or Trump, but to a nation longing for honesty, strength, and clarity. By the end of the night, it was clear who held the room. JD Vance had risen as more than a vice president. He had become a voice, a symbol, and a leader for millions. Trump, silent but satisfied, had let his vice president shine, understanding fully the power of words delivered with courage, conviction, and unwavering clarity. As cameras slowly panned out, capturing the lingering awe in the studio, the applause continued to echo. Social media feeds burned bright with clips and quotes. Homes, diners, veterans' halls, all were alive with discussion and emotion. The night had started as a debate, but it ended as a moment of transformation. And as JD Vance took his seat, calm, composed, and unyielding, one truth became undeniable in the theater of American politics. History had been made, and the voices of the people had been heard.